on. Let's get to some news. So let's do this. Trump recently was convicted on 34 counts, and I would like to state that Lacey and I take no pleasure in that. So, with this lack of pleasure, I'm going to throw a little cold water. Trump did raise quite a bit of money right after he was convicted. He raised like $54 million, and he did it. He had a really good month in May while he was on trial. Not that that's surprising. I mean, of course, his supporters ran in, but there's some other things going on here. But I want to watch this real quick, just to go into. I think this is Wolf Blitzer talking about it. Here he is.
Tonight, Donald Trump and his allies are working on multiple fronts to capitalize on his historic criminal conviction. The Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee raking in a reported $141 million in May as the trial played out and culminated with those 34 guilty verdicts against the presumptive Republican presidential nominee.
So he raised a ton of money. Now, granted, Biden still got way more money. And I think other than April, Biden's beaten him in fundraising every month. So that's going on. But where is the money coming from, I think, is the interesting thing. Because it's not surprising. He got convicted. Of course, his followers were going to dump in. But, man, that was a lot of money, right? I'm like, I don't think his followers have that much money left that they can be dumping in like that, you know? Because a lot of them are lower middle class, right? You know, the non-educated white guy. So I wanted to get into this because here's kind of what's going on. So he had $53 million right after the guilty verdict. Was his big haul. Cash has been one of President Biden's advantages so far. 24 of the post-conviction money will help Mr. Trump close the gap. His campaign announced Friday evening that they'd raised nearly $53 million in 24 hours after his felony conviction. Now they claim that it might not be that much, but we'll see. He's lied before about money he's raised, but we'll see. But I'll take them at their word right now. It's hard to put the enormity of that sum in proper perspective, but it'd be nearly as much in a single day, the $58 million that Mr. Trump's main fundraising arm raised online in the last 6 months. So they did more, almost as much in the one day they did in the last 6 months, and that just on the, on the fundraising arm. The campaign first said on Friday morning it had collected nearly $35 million in the hours after the verdict. By Friday evening, the campaign raised $52.8, blah, blah, blah. So Biden did really well. Biden's actually, I think, still up quite a bit. Cash has so far been one of Mr. Biden's advantages in this race. His main campaign committee entered May with $84 million compared to Trump's $49. Plus, Biden's got another $200 million that is spread out between the DNC for other campaigns and races because he wants to take the House and the Senate. So, and you got to factor in too that the bulk of the money Trump's raising is going to pay his attorney fees, which are close to $10 million a month right now. So $53 million that covers him for the next 5 months in attorney costs, let alone all their other costs. So the thing I wanted to get to is where he's getting it, because this was interesting, because it was a few weeks ago he had a bunch of billionaires over at oil company tycoon kind of guys, right, at Mar-a-Lago, and he said, hey, give me $1 billion and I'll pass whatever you guys want. Basically, buy legislation from me. I'll sell it to you if you give me $1 billion and solve all my problems. And none of them took the bait, but just because they didn't doesn't mean others didn't or others aren't. Just probably not to the tune of a billion. Billionaires in Silicon Valley are opening up to Trump. Now, not just Silicon Valley, other billionaires too, because now they realize after that meeting in Mar-a-Lago, it's pay to play, so they can get what they want if they just throw money at him. So you have a trend. Now you have a potential leader of the United States who's completely transactional. So if you have the money, he'll do whatever you want. You want him to do, if you give him the money. So fuck the people. It's whatever the rich and the greedy want to do. So
it's only certain people. Only certain people will count.
So Donald Trump is set for a major stop in the 2024 money race on Thursday when he travels to Silicon Valley for a high-profile fundraiser co-hosted by investor David O. Sachs and venture capitalist Chamath Palihapitiya. This is one of the latest indicators of the ex-president's success in traditional deep blue Silicon Valley. San Francisco Bay Area is shifting towards Trump. Well, no, the voters aren't, just the few billionaires. But experts who have studied the role in billionaires in politics over recent decades said it shouldn't be a shock. So this goes back to The View, where the whole, well, we need to reduce taxes on the rich, and everybody there's like, yeah. That's because they're all fucking millionaires. Of course they're all into that. That sounds good. And you're justifying it so I don't feel guilty? Great. Same thing here. So the Silicon Valley, in this case, has been pivoting for a while. Noted Northwestern University political scientist Jason Seward in a recent interview, it isn't just unusual for a group of people who've become affluent to align towards the party that defends wealth. Of course not, added Seward, who co-authored a book on billionaires and politics. The tech industry pivot is a part of a larger embrace of Trump by billionaires and CEOs that has fallen into some familiar historical patterns. Billionaires this go-around, like their predecessors in years past, seem to prioritize economic concerns as well as access to power. That's what it is. That's the top reason for their support. But other historical patterns have been broken. This current class of vocal billionaires led by Musk is much more likely than their predecessors, experts say, to focus on social issues. And we can talk about that some other time. I want to talk about the financial aspect. The way I see it is this, and this is just reality, and this is part of the problem of a two-party system. If I'm a billionaire right now, and we talked about this months ago with Davos, and they were really concerned, and Europe's really concerned, and Asia's really concerned. If Trump becomes president, you're talking about deregulations, you're talking about them probably not backing Ukraine anymore, so war is going to be inevitable in Europe. And things are going to escalate, and potentially Europe could be at war with Russia. And then the question is with Trump as president, can we get the U.S. to back him? Or is he going to try to back out? Then he could back out of the whole issue in Israel. At least Biden's sort of doing something now. But he's sort of doing something. But Trump's just going to let them go ramshat. So Israelis are just going to go ahead and do mass genocide on the Palestinians, which is going to piss off the Syrians and the Egyptians and the Iranians, so there could be war in the Middle East. That'll interrupt commerce and business. Plus, Trump wants to raise tariffs again, which is going to jack up inflation in the U.S., which means less purchasing. So you'll see a slow growth and a recession and mass war. That's what they're concerned about, right? So that's what the wealthy are concerned about, that their bottom line is going to be screwed if he gets reelected. But you're a billionaire. You got to think, right? What do I do? Right? Kind of hoping Biden wins, but if Trump wins, what do I do? Well, I give money to Trump because I want to be on his good side. Because I want to be able to get some of the things I want. It's a hedge. Same way you do with stocks. I put all this money in one stock, but if it tanks, I'm screwed. So I'm going to put some money in another stock that's going to do the opposite, so I can offset my losses. That's all they're doing. And a lot of it, some of them I think really support him and like him. And a lot of them from the aspect of, well, if Biden becomes president, nothing's really going to happen to me. But if Trump becomes president, I could be fucked. So I need to buy him off now. So the few million I spend now could save me hundreds of million later. But that's the danger of having a guy like that in the White House. You know? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Really, it's just, selling policy to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, in which case...
Buy your people.
Yeah, it's aristocratic thinking. It's not democratic at all. Because we're not representing the people anymore who elected you. I'm just representing the guys who are giving me money. Which is part of the problem with our system.
Right.
Which is funny because if you read like Das Kapital, Karl Marx predicted this was the problem with capitalism. He's not wrong. He's actually been right about a lot of shit. But that's what he's going to do. So Trump's going to kiss these guys' ass, and these guys are going to sit there and go, well, might as well give him something now so we can curry favor later. And if he does win, then we at least have some leverage. And some of them are probably stupid enough to think they do, but it's once again, it gets to the point if the king gets all the bribes and takes all this shit so he can do more for the lords, and the peasants get screwed until what happens? The peasants finally things get so bad, the peasants just fucking revolt. We've seen this over and over again in history. It's getting boring. Oh man, but it's how it happens. And that's what they're doing now, and they don't see it. You know, eventually things are going to get so bad. You know, it's always a class struggle in this fucking planet. Our stupid species, man. But